cactus and succulent growers, it's Lynn, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about what orange markings could be on your cactus. Now this was a video request by one of my subscribers called Envia, and they wanted to know if I could do a little video on what orange markings could be on a cactus. So in this video I'm going to show you some examples of orange markings on many of my cacti, and also talk about the non-serious as well as the serious causes of these orange markings. So first I'm going to talk about the serious, what the serious causes could be for these orange markings, and I'm going to show you a bit of an example here with my Lophophora cacti. Now the most common cause of orange marks on your cactus plants is often down to a very annoying mite, spider mite. And it's very common in cactus collections, especially when you grow a lot of cacti together. And spider mites will be very sort of choosy with what types of cacti they like to go for. Lophophoras are magnets to these spider mites, and also Raybuteas, Chamaecerus, and many other types of cacti. They love the soft-bodied ones. And here's an example of what the damage can look like from spider mites. These are some of my Lophophoras here, and they've had spider mite in the past. It's a type of pest that you do treat, and it does tend to keep coming back. So there's not a solution to completely get rid of spider mites, because although you can completely get rid of them at the time, they just seem to come in again. So with Lophophoras and other types of cacti, it's all a case of sort of keeping the pests at bay as much as you can. And this is what the damage looks like from spider mite. It's sort of very orangey, scaly sort of appearance, often at the top of the cactus. And as the cactus recovers from the mites go away and it recovers, this will be all the new growth you can see. They often leave a bit of a pattern at the top. And I'll also show you with some Raybuteas as well. This is how very typically happens with spider mites. There's an example there that spider mite damage, that typical orangey orange sort of scabbing at the top, and also then, and this is all the new pups that's grown out from that. So the first serious one would be spider mite, and if you want to know how to treat spider mite, do check out a video I've made on how I treat spider mite on my cacti by using neem oil, and I'll link that video up above and down below. So if you notice the orange marks on your cactus, mainly at the top of the cactus, and it looks very much like this with the orange scabbing, then it's pretty much sure that you've got spider mites. They're incredibly tiny. You can't really see them with the human eye, even if you have excellent eyesight. They're like little dust type, that size of little dust running along the cactus, and they can cause a hell of a lot of damage. So do keep an eye out for this pest. So that would be the first serious one, definitely spider mites. The next serious one will be rust. And rust is an annoying fungus that certain cacti can get. And again, Lophophora are particularly prone to this rust fungus. And I've had it happen to a few of mine in the past. I don't really have any examples to show you of the rust fungus, but I have had this happen on my Lophophoras in the past, and I'm happy to say I've used a copper-based fungicide, and it has worked to treat at stopping the rust from spreading. In extreme cases it can wipe out your cactus, so you have to act quick with it. I don't really know what causes rust. Certain type of cacti seem to be prone to it. I've heard it's high humidity, or too much heat, or too much cold, too much this and that. In my experience, it can be a bit random how it happens. And I also made a video on how to treat rust on Lophophora cacti, and I explain how I treat it in that video. Links to that video will also be up above and down below in the video description. But I would recommend, in this case, using a copper, if you can get copper-based fungicide. I used to use something called Bordeaux powder, which is a powder I used to just dust onto the cacti if I had rust fungus, and it would completely stop the fungus in its tracks and the cactus would recover. Unfortunately, it's no longer available to buy in the UK, and but there are other types of systemic fungicides, and especially copper-based ones, sprays that you can use in the same way. And I think the copper-based powder, the Bordeaux powder, has been replaced with a different one now as well. So you'll see that in that video that I mentioned. But also I want to mention that isolate any cacti you find with rust, because it can spread to other types of cacti. With my Lophophorus, I find it seems to be more isolated to that particular cactus, but it's not something you want to risk by just keeping it with your other collection. Remove it from your collection, put it somewhere away from the others, and treat it with a copper-based fungicide. The next one with orange markings, it can be also scale insects. Now, I'm happy to say I don't actually have any examples to show you at the moment in my collection of scale insect, but I have dealt with this pest many times before, and you will know if it's scale insect because they will have little raised bumps going all along the surface, and certain plants such as agaves and aloes will be very prone to them, as well as many cacti. And how I know if it's scale insect or it's just a natural corkiness is with scale insect, if you push your finger under and give it a scrape, the scales will come off quite easily. But if it doesn't come off, then you know that it's just down to natural sort of corking, which I'll just show you an example here. Let's have a look here. Yeah, some of these here. Scale insect can look very similar to this, but this is natural corking. It won't come off if I try and scrape that off. A scale will come off. And if you have scale insect, the best thing to remove it is rubbing alcohol, such as isopropyl alcohol or surgical spirit or methylated spirits. You can even use vodka, neat alcohol as well, because that will help to dissolve scale insect. And that's often gives these sort of orange little bumps over the cactus. So easy to treat, but it's an annoying pest. The next serious one will be either sunburn or cold damage. And they can look quite similar with the damage. And here's an example of one of my astrophytums here. This one I repotted not too long ago, I even made a video when I did. And this has actually been, before it was here in the polytunnel that is green tinted. And I put it out into my white little greenhouse. I didn't think nothing of it because I thought, oh, it's got plenty of sun in there. And after I repotted it, we had a few days of very sunny weather, and it can get very bright in our little white greenhouse. And this is a result of sun damage. Look at that. Happy to say it's recovering well, so there's going to be no problem. That will just harden off and the new growth will come out as normal. But it's such a shame. But I thought it'd be a great example to show you typical orange markings there. And with sun damage, you can have orange blotches. Very different to scale insect. There'll be sort of blotches all over the body. And the same with cold damage as well. Cold damage, if you keep your cacti too cold over the winter or too humid, and they get this damage as well, this can also appear very similar. And I have made numerous videos on what cold damage and what sun damage looks like on a cactus. So do check them videos out if you want to know more about that. I'll link both of them videos up above in the video description, and they'll also be down below in the video description as well. So that's an often cause of orange markings on your cactus plants, either cold damage or sun damage, and also down to environmental as well. Sometimes your cactus will be having perfect sunlight, everything, no problem there, but if you bring it in from the house into the outdoors, or different dramatic drops in temperature, cacti can be very sensitive to then forming these sort of orange marks and blotches on their skin. And it can only really be serious if the blotches cause a lot of damage where the plant declines and rots. Sometimes this can happen if they've had excessive sun damage, and also it's certainly more likely from cold as well. So it can be serious in mild cases such as this, a bit of blotching, but it will eventually turn white and heal and recover. This was my own stupid fault for leaving this too long into the white polytunnel. Those of you who know, we're going to be getting a new polytunnel over the next few weeks, a clear one, and I may have to, when I acclimatise these plants, because although they're outside, they're going to be coming in the house for a week or two and then coming back into a totally clear polytunnel. I'm going to have to throw some shade cloth over them just for a week or two to let them acclimatise to the higher light levels. But I'll include all that when I do them videos. So that's a common one, cold damage and sun damage. Now the next serious one, and this will probably be the most serious, If you get orange markings on either the top of the cactus or most likely at the bottom of the cactus, and it's soft and squidgy, then sadly it's nearly always time to rot. And this is very different to natural corking, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. If you notice a cactus plant, the most common will be from the base, and you'll notice it's going very orange, and you go to touch it and it's all soft and mushy, then it's rot. And I have made many videos on how to save different types of cactus plants from rot. In the very early days, if you spot a cactus rotting, going orange at the base and it's all soft, you can save it by taking it as a cut-in and regrowing it then. And I've had to do this with a lot of my cacti over the years that I've lost, that have rotted, and I've managed to bring them back to life again by taking cuttings, and I always include it in certain videos. So should you have this happen to your cactus, then do check out a video I have made on how to save a cactus from rot. Links up above and down below in the video description. And it's not as common, but sometimes you can get cactus that's rotting from the top as well. As I mentioned, the most common cause of orange markings at the top is usually down to spider mite, and they leave that orange corkiness. But if it's very soft and squashy, and bear in mind that certain pests such as mealybugs and spider mites can actually cause damage to the actual plant, it can weaken it, and it can rot from the top. You have to then take an emergency cut from the top and treat it in the same way as if it was from the base, but obviously you've got the roots already from when it's rotting from the top. You just have to cut it. So there we go, rot from the top and from the base. That's one of the, if not the most serious causes of orange markings on cactus. Now I'm going to talk about the non-serious causes of orange marking on your cactus. And the most commonly one will be natural corking. And natural corking happens when cacti mature. They naturally age and they start to form this corkiness. And you often see it a lot at the base. And here's an example here, one of my pharaoh cacti. All this brown orange here is just natural corkiness. It's not rotting, no problem at all. And the difference with a rotting cactus, it will feel soft if you go to touch it and it goes mushy and oozes out watery rot. When it's hard like this is just natural corking. Here's an example, one of my very old pharaoh cacti there at the base, natural corking. It does happen as they age, and I'll show you some more examples as well coming up here with a lot of my other cacti, some of my echinopsis too. Natural corking at the base, such as there, and just something that these cacti do as they age. I mean, look at this one, very sort of woody and sort of browny orange, and no problem at all. Here is an example here. Again, they had natural corkiness, and there's this orange blotches as well on this from the base and even going up, but that's just because it's a mature cactus and there's no need to worry at all. It's completely harmless. It's more of an aesthetic thing, and I personally think that it's the corkiness and the brown and orange sort of markings that sort of add a bit of character to these cactus plants. I think it's awesome. Here as well, one of my Echinopsis subdenudatas, lots of sort of orange sort of spotting on there. Again, just natural corking. Corking can appear all over the plant and also at the base as well. And I have made a complete video on corking on cactus plants and what it looks like and the causes. So do go and check that video out for more info on there. I'll link that video up above and also down below in the video description. So I hope you found that video useful and a bit more of an idea what the orange markings on your cactus can be. And thank you Envia for the video request. And thank you all so much for watching. Before you go, do leave a comment in the video comments down below, even a heart or a smiley face, because every comment really does help the algorithm. And do follow me on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook at Desert Plants of Avalon. And if you haven't done already, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell. I want to wish you all a fantastic cactus powered day.